Nick Simpson, Nicsimpson. Yeah, grew up in Fort Thomas, Northern Kentucky, but mostly Fort Thomas in high school. Went to Highlands and played basketball, played golf. I grew up on a golf course with my grandparents, and that's where I spent most of my time. Basketball career at Highlands was good. I was able to get a scholarship, and I went and played basketball at North Carolina A&T. And basketball was pretty much what propelled everything in my life, growing up, all the way to about 22 years old. So I had a couple schools that was just kind of a tough decision, but for me, the coach at the time was a guy that was from Kentucky, and he won a championship for Louisville. His name was Jerry Eves, and we just had an instant connection. College career went good there. It probably went a little bit better. It was pretty similar to high school. I played early on, had a full career, achieved a lot of good things. As a team, we never really hit our goal of going to the big tournament, but had a blast, learned a lot, and developed a lot of the habits there that I still use today. So had big plans to play professional, and that's something I was locked in on when I was like 14, 15. I was just like, I want to get this done. And my second last home game, wide open layup. I don't know if I slipped on a wet spot from a charge or whatever, but slipped, tore my ACL, tore my meniscus, and I broke my leg, and that pretty much derailed that for the time being. So when that happened, Ashley and I were also expecting our first kid, so I kind of had to face a lot of different realities, trying to graduate on time, which I was behind at the time. Not gonna get the basketball done, or didn't look like it was gonna get done, and then having to be a parent. So it was tough and a low moment for me, but in hindsight, one of my most proudest moments, because I overcame a lot of stuff and grew as a person. Yeah, so 2 years before, I think it was my sophomore year, we were playing Ohio State, and Ashley was a journalism major at North Carolina A&T, and so she was from Columbus, so she just told the journalism director, whoever she had to tell, that she would go to Columbus and do the interviews for the game, and I was the leading scorer, so she had to interview me, and you know what I'm saying? That's how it works. That was our first interaction with each other. The rest is kind of history. We've been together for a long time, and it's just crazy. That was 2010. 2010, so this will be our 10th Christmas together. I've got an 8-year-old, Ashton, and I've got a 20-month-old, almost 2, Grayson. You have 2 little men. So my degree was in human performance or exercise science, depending on what school you go to and how they name the program. But it was exercise science, more or less. And when I got done graduating, I graduated in summer, because basically I took minimum hours in the regular during the season, and then in the summer I took classes to kind of catch back up, or supposed to get ahead, but for me, catch back up. And so graduated in August and had a brand new baby, had to get a job. So I reached out to a friend who was working at a place called FitWorks, and he got me an interview at FitWorks. And the only one I could go to was in Westchester, and at the time I was still working in Fort Thomas. So told him I would make the drive, started working up there, and a couple months later, Johnny and I linked up and had, working out together. And I didn't know at the time Johnny's ambitions for wanting to start a gym, but he had been sitting on those and making plans for a long time. And after we built a relationship, he kind of reached out to me about, hey, we should talk about something outside of FitWorks. And we sat down, and he kind of stretched me mentally thinking about starting a business, because really I was just going check to check, try to pay for all the, just to try to catch up. And he kind of planted that dream in my mind that we could run a gym, and then from there, once I locked onto that, the rest is definitely history. I would say probably our first step is when we really started to sacrifice our time. So when we got out of work at FitWorks, driving down to Johnny's, we called it a cottage, but basically like a single room. It was like in a garage type thing. I'm not sure how to describe it, but that's where he lived. And so basically we went from working all day as trainers, and then the little free time we had, we were spending, not every night, but almost every night, meeting after that and working through details, building the dream, building a relationship with each other, getting to know each other. And we did that through most of the winter. If I remember correctly, definitely through most of the winter of 2012. And we didn't necessarily make any big moves, but that investment of time was kind of where it was like, that was the first steps for us. And then from there, once we kind of had some plans in place from there, it was just putting things together piece by piece, finding a location, what side of town. And at the time, it wasn't even a CrossFit gym. It was just finding a place that we could train people because we were passionate about it and we knew that we were skilled. We wanted to maximize it for what we thought what was possible for us, and we didn't think we could do that at our current setup. So that's kind of what put it together, and then from there you just piece it all together just like anything. It was tough, and it was something that you fall behind, and there's a lot of things that were challenging, and you just don't know. You're just going. You don't know if it's necessarily going to be worth it or if it's going to work out. But Ashley was, I don't know if she was doing her master's degree or if she was like an intern, but she wasn't necessarily like supporting the family. I didn't have like all this leeway. Like we needed to make things work, and I totally left Fitworks. I had no other options. I remember when I told Johnny that I quit, and he was like, "Oh, like when are you gonna put in your 2 weeks?" And I was like, "This is my last day." And he was just like, "What?" I was like, "I'm all in." And then he was gonna do the same thing. He was just better about having a plan with it. He had planned it for a lot longer. And for me, I was just like, done. Like, we're doing this, right? And I was just out. But it was hectic, but all those things that were challenges eventually became just fuel. Just motivated me to make it happen. Well, it's not perfect. Like I kind of, you got your priorities. Like family's a big priority for us. The time and the relationships we have with the people in here is a big deal. We don't like to spend too much time out of here because we got a lot of important relationships at the gym, and it's not a few amount of people. I mean, we've got 100, it sounds crazy, we've got 100 close relationships. I know all these different families, people's different works, their challenges, their health, and so we've got a lot of relationships. So balancing that, you don't get it perfect, and sometimes there's some give and some take. We might be here more hours and miss some family time. There might be some times where, hey, we got to make some stuff happen for the family, and Johnny or myself will kind of be, so to speak, stranded here, have to put more time in here, but that's what we signed up for, and we've been able to make it work, and we just grow with the challenges that come our way. Important. It's a good look. It gives me confidence that they kind of support, what I'm doing, and obviously for my kids, I just know how beneficial it would have been for me to be exposed to this as early, and by the environment. We have such an amazing environment here. We have such good people, and a lot of other kids. Like it's all family here, so I want my family to be a part of that. I don't want to have two separate families. I want to have, I want to have the balance of my family kind of being exposed to this too. On the day that I'm going to be basically opening up the gym, getting up at 3:45 or 4, I'll prepare my food for the day in the morning. I get that done by about 4:30 while putting some stuff together. I'll leave my house about 5, and I'll get here at 5:20. And I do that, I give myself that amount of time so I don't have to rush, so I can start with the right energy when I see people, because starting the morning rush, like if you get here right at 1:45 and someone gets here at the same time, and I'm like, that might mess up a whole day. So getting here early, getting the music on, getting ahead of my day, like starting to make a list of what I want to get done and starting to work on it, puts me in the right mood. I feel like I'm in a good spot. So people start getting here about 10 till 6, and then we'll serve people all the way till 8 p.m. And the way our schedule is now, it's not a on-off. It's on. It's on the whole time. And we got a good perspective with it. We enjoy it, and because these are relationships that are important to us. But it's on all day, and that takes a lot of energy, but it's fun. He does, and I think I had to kind of learn that because I'm coming home basically being tired and not wanting to talk stuff like that. So I think I had to adjust to that more, where it's like he knows that I'm spending all this energy at the gym, but he still wants daddy time, and so getting the right mindset there, where it's like, hey, I might be tired, but that doesn't necessarily matter when it comes to hanging out with my kids. A loving father, I'd say. Love's kind of the first thing I like to do, but definitely discipline. But I grew up, my grandpa was a strong father figure for me, and there's no negative to say there, but I didn't meet my dad till I was 22. So that's definitely a big source of motivation that, my kids don't ever have to think about some of the things I thought about growing up. Yeah, definitely. So yeah, my mom, she grinded. Hi, buddy. She's Grayson. Yep. So she had to work hard. She had me when she was 20, and she was always supportive of everything I wanted to do. The gym was no different. She told me I can make my dreams happen for basketball, and so that was definitely a big motivation to make that happen. And there's so many athletes and people that have gone through that, where it's like they got their single parent. A lot of times it's their mom. And that's their motivation to make it happen, because their mom basically sacrificed everything. My mom and my family were no different. They really supported me. And so that was always a big motivation to make it happen for them. And yeah, my mom deserves all the shout outs in the world, so yeah. Yeah, it's a family, and I think that's just because how, you know, because like I said, when John and I were first doing all these things together, we were building a relationship with each other, because it just took so much time and ideas like that. So the people that followed us from Fitworks, which it wasn't many, but it was a couple. Fitworks was the gym we were at before. You know, they believed in us, and so we had strong relationships with them. And then most of the people that joined the gym from there were friends and the standard word of mouth family. And so just the family thing happened real organically, and we just really spent time with relationships on a one-on-one level. We just kind of had the mindset where it's like they were going to join one at a time. So yeah, we want to have hundreds and thousands of people, you know, getting our service, but each relationship's one at a time. And just after years, it's a family, you know, and it's special, and you can feel it when you're here not very long. So it's cool.
Being with my dad.
Oh, that's so nice.
That's pretty cool.
You're gonna make him cry.
Yeah, so we talked about in the beginning, just like when we both were kind of scrambling when the gym first happened, but it's a team effort. It's 100% by me, 100% by her, where if I'm not there, she just makes it happen, because she knows that, you know, it's a two-man ship at the gym. And, you know, without her, a lot of things would be different, and not in a good way. Yeah.
Ashley Simpson, Ashley, and then Simpson is Simpson. Love at first sight, those are strong words. It was definitely like at first sight.
Okay.
We met at a basketball game. It was Ohio State, actually. We played Ohio State, and I lived in Columbus. I'm from Columbus, so I asked our TV studio manager to just travel to Columbus to shoot the game. I shot the games at school, and this was one of the first traveling games I'd be doing. But again, I'm from Columbus, so I decided I wanted to do it, and he said, yeah, let's do it. So I went, I sat courtside. I brought a friend with me. She was actually dating one of the Ohio State players. So it was great. We sat on the sideline the whole game, and I gave my TV studio manager a call, and I said, hey, who should I interview after the game? And he said, just pick the guy that scored the most points. And that was Nick. So I came out, I was just waiting for all the basketball players to come out of the locker room. He came out of the locker room. I had no clue what he looked like, didn't know who he was. And it's strange because I shot all the games, but I still had no clue who Nicholas was until that day. So anyway, I interviewed him. And then a couple of days later, he reached out to me on Twitter, which is sort of embarrassing to say. It's pretty embarrassing to say now. But I guess you can say the rest is history. Here we are 10 years later. He was just so much different than any other guy I talked to. I think everyone else was just like into themselves. There are guys that like or worry about what kind of shoes they have on and worry about what they're wearing, what kind of car they drive, and Nicholas was just so different. On our first date, he took me to a steakhouse, or a Japanese steakhouse, a hibachi place, and we went, and he had on Saucony's. And he had on these blue jeans, and it just was totally different than any guy I would have ever talked to. And I'm like, yeah, this is definitely the guy I want to date long term. I think that time in general was a bit wild. Ashton was still really young. Ashton was 5 months, 6 months old. I was still in grad school, and Nicholas was talking about starting something new. We're trying to build our foundation, and okay, so what does that mean financially? What does that mean with your time? And obviously it meant he was going to start from zero financially, or we were going to. And then also with his time, he was going to be at the gym all day, every day, and that's what actually happened. He was at the gym before the gym opened, after the gym closed. He felt like he had to be there every day. We had this new little baby who was also in daycare, so we were finding after school care for him, because I had night classes in grad school and I was working full-time too, so it was a wild time. But we got through it, and you know how you look back on something and you just kind of observe what happened, and I can't really feel how I felt in that time. It's like a baby, that is crying a ton when they're young, and you're super exhausted and you're super sleepy. But when they're 2 or 3 years old and they're no longer crying in the middle of the night, you don't you don't feel that. You kind of forget what happened. And that's sort of where I am right now, where I forget everything that happened and how I felt in that time. But I do know that it was wild. I'm glad we made it through. I'm extremely proud of Nick and Johnny. Nicholas is determined. He's strong-willed. He is tough-minded. He never turns that off. That's a part of him. It's within him. And even when I want to be lazier, I don't want to do something, he helps me get through and get over that hump. It's in him. It's natural. And so I knew that they would succeed. I knew that that we'd be here today and they'd have a successful gym, 8 years later, 7 years later now. So I knew that we would be here, but I'm extremely proud of Nicholas. He works so hard, and again, he never turns it off. He wants success, and success for him looks different, I think, than success for a lot of people. Success for him is extreme financial success. It is our family being extremely happy and having everything that we could possibly want. So this is just the beginning, really. Yeah, so I work in corporate America. I love business. So Nicholas owning a business is sort of fun for me because he can come home with his stories and I can sort of give advice even if he doesn't take it. It just comes natural to me. Improving processes, efficiency, and things like that are within business in general is what I really love to do. So I work in HR. I'm currently an HR director. So a lot of fun. A winner. He's going to win at all costs. He's going to work hard, harder than everyone around him. And that's part of what I mentioned. He's just a go-getter. He's not going to stop. He's going to succeed again. The gym is a place that he comes, and when he's here, he turns on completely. So he can have a tough day. It can be a tough morning. But when he gets in the gym, he turns on and no one knows. He will never show you when he's hurting. His grandfather, who was his father, he raised him, passed, and no one in the gym would have known. No one in the gym knew. His grandmother passed, who was also like a mother figure to him. In addition to his actual mother, she passed, no one knew. He had a toothache just last week or 2 weeks ago. He had an emergency root canal. No one knew he was in pain. That's just the type of guy he is. He's not going to show that he's hurting. He's not going to show any of that emotion, and it's because he doesn't want that to affect anyone else. So he's always on, and again, succeeding is his #1 goal.
Raise your feet. Ready, set.